FlatOut is a 2004 Destruction Derby racing video game developed by Finnish developer Bugbear Entertainment and published by Empire Interactive. FlatOut made its debut November 5th, 2004 in Europe and July 12, 2005 in North America. This intense racing game puts emphasis on its physics-based Destruction Derby style racing and its own proprietary physics engine. FlatOut has taken praise as one of the best racing games of all time, way ahead of its time at release. The game showcased next level destruction physics, ragdoll physics, and gorgeous environment with destructive set pieces. FlatOut was released for Microsoft Windows, Linux, PlayStation 2, Wii, and Xbox. My personal experience with FlatOut is through the PC and PlayStation 2 version, mainly PC though. And before this video, I didn't even know the Wii had a version. The reception from critics at the time was generally favorable, reaching around the average of 7 to 8 out of 10s, with some lows here and there. So the critics were very happy with the game, and fans absolutely fell in love with the game. Fans like myself, who to this day remembers the moments I had in this game when I first played it. And after revisiting it for this video in 2023, the game still holds up very well, even with its bare bones gameplay compared to the sequels and later games. FlatOut put emphasis on fun and destruction, and the formula worked perfect. Bugbear knew what they had, and they perfected it. So join me on this adventure as we take a deep dive into the FlatOut series, starting with FlatOut 1, going all the way up to Bugbear's latest game, Wreckfest. This will be episode 1 of a 6-part series, so if you're interested, go ahead and drop me a subscribe, like the video, and yeah guys, let's talk about FlatOut. The FlatOut franchise holds 6 games under its belt. Bugbear Entertainment had their hands in the franchise from the very first game to FlatOut Ultimate Carnage in 2007. Once Bugbear lost the series, it all went downhill. The reasoning behind Bugbear losing the IP was the publisher going bankrupt and the IP being tossed around to different publishers. This resulted in quick, cheap cashes on the FlatOut franchise with FlatOut 3 and FlatOut 4. We'll get to those games in due time. The FlatOut series has left its mark in the racing genre, with its exhilarating crashes, heart-stopping moments, and the damage physics that were way beyond its time and revolutionary. Bugbear perfected their damage and physics engine to the point that even today in Wreckfest, it is beyond the competition. Bugbear has this shit down. Buckle up and prepare to fly through those windshields, because today we're going to be looking at the development, history, and the gameplay of the very first FlatOut game. It's hard to find a deep development story about this game, but in 2002, FlatOut saw life as a prototype. Bugbear released this prototype as a part of their Wreckfest Kickstarter. This prototype showcased what they wanted FlatOut to kind of be like. Everything in this prototype, besides the cars and physics, is looking really close to the finalized version. The tracks look fairly close besides some low-res textures, but the prototype really captured what FlatOut was aiming to be. You can even see the damage physics showcasing a little bit in the prototype, so you can tell this is what they wanted the game to be. With the prototype obviously being very bare bones with 4 tracks and 4 cars and only 4 cars on the track at the time, it is literally just to showcase the physics engine that Bugbear has been working on. At the time, Bugbear was a very small studio, so they weren't sure if this was gonna work or not. They didn't know until the actual release of FlatOut. Bugbear's burning questions would be answered with the release of FlatOut in 2004 in Europe and 2005 in North America. The release of FlatOut put Bugbear on the map in the gaming world, with the damage and physics of FlatOut being a huge highlight of the game. And let's not forget how entertaining it is watching your driver fly through their window. After that awesome intro screen, you're greeted with the profile screen. You create or select your profile, and then you'll find yourself in the main menu. On a fresh boot up of FlatOut, you're only going to have 5 cars unlocked. All of them are fairly decent, but there's more to come. My favorite's the Bullet, so that's the one I'm picking. After that, you only have Bronze and Bonus. Bonus is like your stunts, derbies, and special races. You only got the first layer. You unlock more as you finish the cups. Crash Alley is one of the best tracks in the FlatOut franchise, hands down. You'll start off in the Bronze Cup with 3 tracks to pick from, and then you'll progress from there. It's fairly rudimentary on how the story goes in this game. You know, you race and unlock more races as you go. That's about it. The cars do have like 5 different colors each, so that's pretty cool. Now, out of all the games in the FlatOut franchise, FlatOut 1 is the most grounded in reality. What I mean by that is that in the sequels, FlatOut 2 and FlatOut Ultimate Carnage, Bugbear's games, they took the intensity and turned that up to 10, let me tell you. FlatOut 1 is a mild 3 on the intensity scale, while FlatOut 2 and Ultimate Carnage are a 10. So this is the most grounded in reality. You have one class of cars, whereas the other games you have 3. Now once you start completing cups, you'll unlock more cars. There's a total of 16 different cars. So you do unlock more cars, and they are pretty satisfying to look at. Like, I was happy to see new cars pop up after beating a cup, and I was happy to try them out. Even now, I was pretty excited to give them a roll after I unlocked them. So the car variety, it's pretty decent, especially for a first game. And if you want to customize a little bit, each car has 5 different paint options, so it gives you a little bit of spice of customization in there. It gets way better in the sequels, but very good for a first go. Even the tracks in FlatOut 1, they're not as intense as they are in the sequels. It is pretty minimalist. There is not as many destructible objects on the track as the sequels. The tracks themselves are pretty plain in the layout. Like, they'll pit one area and then switch up the track layout to make it seem different, but it's still the same area, just rearrange. That's actually pretty much most of the tracks. So after Silver Cup, you pretty much seen everything. The only nice twist is the winter tracks and the town tracks that you see in the Silver Cup, while in Bronze you don't get those kind of layouts. So the tracks aren't as memorable. There's only 1 or 2 tracks that I actually remember. Now the special tracks in this game, they are very memorable. They keep bringing them back in other games. With all that being said, now it's time to get into the meat of it. It's time to dive into the career mode, the tracks, and the gameplay of FlatOut. Once you get your profile and car selected, you'll make your way to the bronze screen. Here you'll find all the tracks you have unlocked, which is going to be the top row. And then you'll pick one. Once you pick one, it'll throw you in a race. You'll complete the race, unlock the one right below it, and repeat. It's very rudimentary. Like I said before, there's not much to it. It's simply race and discover the tracks. FlatOut was Bugbear Entertainment's 3rd game, and with a small team, they created something special. Yeah, it has flaws, the tracks and AI being the biggest ones, but this game was so much fun. After the first few races, your adrenaline's pumping, you're having a blast with the damage, you're just smashing cars in the wall. It was just so much fun. Within the first 2 minutes of your first race, you're going to start to realize this racing game isn't like most other racing games at the time. This racing game has damage to the cars. Really good damage. Yeah, FlatOut's main focal point, besides the ragdoll physics, was the fact that the cars have really good damage models. These cars can take damage depending on how hard you hit them and where you hit them, making for one of the most memorable racing experiences of the 2000s. Now, of course, this wasn't the only style of racing game out there. There are other Destruction Derby racing games, but FlatOut has something special with it, which even today is rather impressive. Like, for example, when you jump a ramp and you land on a car, the damage is very clear. Look at that car's roof. It is just caved in from my car landing on it. And then when you flip your car, it just gets torn to shreds, and it is just insane. Your car is just completely mangled. The performance of the car gets dropped down when it's damaged, and you can tell the tires wobble, it gets weird to turn, and the damage and the physics engine is just fantastic in this game, even today. Like, obviously it's shown its age a little bit today, but it's been almost 20 years. Before we move on, let me just show you an example of how far Bugbear Entertainment has come with their damage modeling in their engine. This is their latest game, Wreckfest, and it is just gorgeous, both graphic fidelity and physics-wise. It is near the simulation level and is by far Bugbear's magnum opus as of now. I don't know if they're working on a sequel for sure or not, but I hope so. Alright, back to FlatOut. We'll cover Wreckfest later. Now, back when this came out, this was mind-blowing. Little me had, no words for this. I was so mind blown that I played this for hours, just crashing cars into each other, doing races solely just to crash into everyone at the start and reset, or reverse across the track and just head on everyone. Like, this game blew my mind with its physics back when I was a kid. As you make your way through the Bronze Cup, you start to get a feel for the controls, a feel for the car that you're controlling, and a general grasp of what you can get away with when hitting a car or when hitting a wall to get some nitro. You start to get a feel for all that by the time you finish Bronze Cup. Now, the AI in Bronze is pretty dumb, I'm gonna be honest. Like, you're gonna fly ahead unless you're purposely crashing into them for fun like I was sometimes. Like, these losses are literally just me crashing in the cars and my car getting 2 damage and me not wanting to restart. But it is what it is. So, yeah, the AI is not really challenging. The difficulty does start to pick up in the later cups, but not by much. And when it does, it's only like 1 or 2 cars that are whooping your ass instead of like a general overall difficulty. So the AI is about 2000s material. There ain't nothing really special with the racing AI. At least it's not like Mario Kart and it rubber bands you. Because you can get really far ahead of these other cars if you wanted to. As you approach the completion of the Bronze Cup, you start to get a little confidence in yourself. You know, you get a feel for it. You start taking some risky hits and stuff like that. You get a real feel for it. So after you complete Bronze, you unlock a couple of new cars and Silver Cup. With Silver Cup comes a whole new set of tracks and a couple of different biome tracks. Like, Silver Cup is where we get winter and town environments, and once you unlock those, there's no more new track environments. You've pretty much seen them all. Now they're just rearranged differently with some shortcuts thrown in the middle of them. But you also unlock the next row of stunts, demolition derby tracks, and the special race tracks. Now that you got your new set of cars and tracks, it's time to move on to Silver Cup. Something about this game that I didn't realize as a kid is that it's actually pretty fun to drift and turn around corners. The handling in this game is far from like realistic, far from like Wreckfest levels. It is kind of arcadey. You can slide around turns and really get momentum going for yourself, and it's kind of like satisfying just to fly past the other drivers like this. Now obviously you're going to slide less on the road tracks compared to the winter and dirt tracks, but either way, compared to the later games, you do slide a lot more in this game. Which by no means is a bad thing, because when I revisited this game for this video, I was actually quite surprised by the handling. I really enjoyed just sliding around corners passing cars. So yeah, the handling was a nice surprise on my revisit of FlatOut. Now the handling is a bit more refined in FlatOut 2 and the sequels, so it's not as slidey. So FlatOut 1 is the only game that really kind of had this intense slide mechanic to its handling. Now the Silver Cup, that's when you really start to earn your place in the FlatOut Championship. This is where the AI gets cranked up just a little bit, and the tracks get just a little bit more interesting. The pinnacle of the Silver Cup truly is the cars you unlock and the tracks. Like, what I mean by tracks is the winter track and the town tracks. The rest of them they blend in so much. Like, the names on the tracks are so plain that even if I wanted to remember these, I probably couldn't. Pinewood Crash, Pinewood Challenge, Pinewood Qualifier. It's not fun. They're boring names. I'll remember the order of operations before this. Something else they'll do is they'll give you an extra fork there. So like in the Bronze Cup, you have 3 forks of tracks. Silver, you have 4, and then Gold, you have 5 forks. Yippee! Honestly, the track design, besides, like I said, the special tracks, is one of FlatOut's biggest weakness in an otherwise fantastic game. As you make your way through the Silver Cup, is basically rinse and repeat. Like the Bronze, you'll make your way through it, probably crashing on purpose to break out the monogamy of it, and yeah. The AI is a tad bit more challenging here, but not by much. It's literally just 1 or 2 cars giving you a little run for your money. The rest of the cars are not a challenge. By lap 2, they're pretty much done. If you want to have the most fun in these career races, my advice is just don't upgrade your car. The races are a lot more fun when you don't upgrade. As you reach your last race, you finally reach the Gold Cup. You unlock the last set of cars, the last set of tracks. You have everything in the game there is to have unlockable. And now all you have to do is beat the Gold Cup and you beat the career mode, but there's 5 fucking forks of the same boring ass tracks. God damn it. Honestly, while it has some of the most fun tracks to ride on, the Gold Cup is my least favorite, mainly because if you upgrade your car, you're just going to fly by them. Just don't upgrade your car. It's a lot more fun if you don't upgrade your car in career mode. because this was just boring. On top of that, it feels like they increased the lap amount to drag out the playtime, and plus the 5 forks, it just seems like they really drug out the Gold Cup for you. They wanted you to enjoy every succulent second of that Gold Cup. They wanted you to embrace it, and you know, I just wasn't having it. I was kind of done with the career mode of FlatOut by this point. My fun was coming from the quick race, the stunts, the demolition derbies, the special tracks. The career mode, I was just done with this game. I was just ready to finish it, finish the gold, and be done. So you got gold. It's time to roll it. It's time to get that 100%. But first, you want to see what you unlock. So here's what you got. You got the new stunt tracks. The game is fully open to you at this point. You can have fun, you can go to derbies and do races and crash into cars. At this point, the game is yours. You can do whatever. You earned it too. You did a lot of great racing out there. The cars you unlock at this point in time are some of the best in the game, some of the most fun to drive. They are just monsters, especially if you upgrade them. You're just going to smoke the competition to the point where it's not really fun, as I said before. So yeah, the cars are chef's kiss. Great job on that last tier of cars. All the cars in this game were fun to drive. Now, by the time I started the Gold Cup, I was ready to finish the Gold Cup. Nothing really changes. The tracks, you know, granted some of them inside the Gold Cup are pretty good. They're still the same things you've been seeing the entire game. So nothing different there. And the AI, you know, if you can tell just by looking at this, I'm absolutely smoking them. So like I said, don't upgrade your car. It's not very fun. But yeah, when I first started playing the career mode, I was like, damn, they're kind of stingy with the nitro. It's kind of hard to get some nitro, but I see why. Because you would be so OP with it. If they rewarded you with nitro like they did in FlatOut 2, it'd be insane. You'd be on Mars and they'd be on fucking Earthstone. And let's move on. We're done with the Gold Cup. We finished it. Yeah. Now it's time to dive into my favorite section of FlatOut, the bonus tracks. This holds stunts, demolition derby, and special races. Now, stunts, they utilize the ragdoll physics more than anything. There's a bunch of different mini games here. Stunts, you got long jump, we'll do that one first. You got bowling, you got darts, you got clown, you got high jump. You got a whole plethora of them. You only got 6. But yeah, let's start with long jump. You just gotta see how far you can go. Basically high jump, but you know, horizontal. And that was a fail. Let's try it again. I had a blast in these stunt modes as a kid. I would just crash my car all over the arena. I would just watch my guy fly. That went much better. I'll take that over hitting nothing, you know, just going right into the gutter. I'll take that. Alright, moving on. Let's do the next. Next up on the docket, high jump. High jump was my favorite as a kid. I mean, most of the time, I wouldn't even eject from the car. I would just launch the car with myself and just watch the car, you know, get destroyed pretty much when it landed. It was fun. But it was also fun just watching the ragdoll physics play out. Just your character flying so high in the air, about, you know, 80 to 100 meters, and just boom. Back when this came out in like 2005, there wasn't really anything like this. This was so entertaining. Like, you couldn't find a game that would just let you launch a car like this and see the damage play out. It was cool. I mean, I know the screen says failed, but nah, that was a success. Alright, next up, let's see what we got rolling here. We got darts. Let's roll darts. I don't remember playing this one as much as a kid as I did high jump and bowling and long jump, but I'll play it for you guys today. I'll show you what the hubba bubba is all about. So I suck at darts in real life, and it turns out I suck at it here too. I want to redo. So yeah, I always thought these stunts were pretty neat to have in the game, even if I'm awful at them and can get 0 points like right here. The developers adding these into the game, it really shows that they were really proud of what they came up with. They really wanted to showcase their systems. Next up, we got the classic bowling. I loved this one as a kid. Me and my sibling would take turns at the helm of our keyboard here and see which one can get the higher score. It was fun. I mean, obviously it's, you know, nowhere near that level of fun by yourself, but it's still pretty fucking fun. Ooh, I think I got 3. Alright. I think we can do better, guys. Alright, let's run it back. Something about these mini games are just wonderful. I don't know. Great job, Bugbear. This wouldn't be the last time we see these kind of mini games in FlatOut either. I didn't get them all, I don't think. Well, next minigame, guys. We got Clown. Now this one I don't remember even playing as a kid. I think I played it once, didn't understand it, and just moved on. Revisiting it, pretty much same. I know I'm supposed to make it in there, but I don't care enough to, and as you can see, my aim is terrible, so yeah, moving on to the next one. So we got Bullseye here, and this will be the last of the stunts. This would be what you get from the Gold Cup. And you know, Bullseye ain't so bad. This is probably one of my favorite ones, next to high jump and long jump and bowling. So, pretty simple. You just fling yourself at the Bullseye board. And yeah, that's that. Not much more to it. FlatOut 1 stunts, guys. It's actually a lot more fun than it looks, I will say that. And the last but certainly not least thing we're going to be discussing today in this FlatOut retrospective is the Demolition Derby tracks and the bonus race tracks. This is where I spent most of my time in FlatOut. The first track on our list is the Demolition Dash, the first track you unlock in FlatOut. Very basic. It's a concrete map with a ramp in the middle. You get some airtime, you get some good collisions on this track. It gets the job done. It is very fun just to, play in. It's a 2005 game. There's a lot here that wasn't in other games back then, especially when you liked the damage on the cars. Because even today in like Forza, I know they can't do that because of like licensing agreement with the cars, but all they do to their cars is scratch it up or maybe crack the windows. For 2005, this destruction tech in the cars was so impressive, even to little me. I can't get over that. But yeah, the first demolition track is concrete, circular, all of them are circular, and a ramp in the middle. That is the bare bones of it. That's all you really need to know about it. The only thing I really dislike in the demolition derbies is that when you do bump like the barrels, it can damage your car. Like going up that ramp right there just massively damaged my car. So like you kind of do have to be very careful in these derbies. Alright, let's move on to the next track. Next up on our list, we got the Silver Cup Destruction track, Super Mud Mayhem. This track is the most slidiest of them all. You're going to slide all over the place. The mud is crazy. There's water. And yeah, a bunch of mini bumps throughout the map. That is the main difference from the first map. You got a bunch of bumps, puddles, and mud. Instead of concrete, one bump and no puddles. So yeah, this one is very fun to play. Although you do miss the cars you're trying to hit a lot, mainly because of the slide. But either way, this track is extremely fun to play. I love sliding around. I love sliding in the cars. Kind of like that, where you just slide your side into them and bump them and continue moving on. It's just satisfying to pull off. One thing that I noticed on my revisit of FlatOut is that the AI stays clustered together, and it feels like they try to avoid you besides maybe one or two cars that are like targeting you the whole time. But other than that, it just feels like a lot of the time the cars are trying to avoid you more than get in on the action. Because in the later FlatOuts at the beginning of the race, all the cars will rush toward the middle, whereas in this one, that don't happen as much. For example, in the later FlatOut games, when you start a derby, all the cars rush for the middle for one giant, huge collision. That doesn't really happen in the first game. I mean, they try a little bit, but you can tell it's not fully there after you played the later games. So, they try, but you can tell that there's room for improvement, and they do reach that improvement in FlatOut 2 in the later games. Now, while Bugbear really improved their derbies in the later games, this is a very fine first entry of a franchise. Like, this game and what they've done with it, it is just wonderful. I had so much fun in this game as a kid. Thank you, Bugbear. But yeah, this is a second derby track, a mud bowl. Not much more to it than I already explained. It is one of the more chaotic ones. You do have cars like flying around after hitting the bumps a lot more. Now let's start with the last demolition derby track, the Demolition Sandpit. This is Sandpaturtle. No. Alright, so this one is the very last one you unlock. You get it after the Silver Cup. It is a sandpit with a giant hole in the middle and ramps above those holes. So yeah, it is one of the most chaotic derby tracks in FlatOut. You will probably be flying through the air a lot more than on the ground, but it is amusing to watch cars fly into each other. The simple objective of the derbies in FlatOut is to just eliminate all the other opponents. In the later game, there's different modes, like you can respawn your car after you get destroyed and stuff like that. But in FlatOut, one solid mode, and that is just elimination. So the last car standing wins, no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just how it is in the first FlatOut. And I actually like this way a lot better than the respawn mechanic. Sure, the respawning, like, matches are very fun for some chaotic gameplay, but I like the strategic value of elimination derby matches, where you have to like kind of plan out your hits and stuff. It's amusing, and I enjoy it a lot more than just hitting for more points, but I do enjoy both, so don't get me wrong there. Now that we're in the home stretch, we just have these special racetracks to talk about. These are some of the best tracks in the game, like I've said. You got the Figure 8, Super Roundabout, and Crash Alley Run, which is the best. Crash Alley is amazing. It comes back in almost every game. Actually, all these special tracks come back in different ways in the later games and Bugbear games. So yeah, let's start with the Figure 8. This is your basic Figure 8 track. You drive in the shape of an 8. I mean, not much to it. The ramp in the middle adds some intensity to it, but I mean, the AI and number of AI on the track doesn't really allow a lot of opportunities for that ramp to be used in the most fun of ways, but the ramp is there, and some cool crashes do happen on the ramp, so that's a pretty nice touch. Track is very basic. You got 5 laps, you go around, you crash cars, and yeah, it's one of the most fun tracks in the game. It offers a lot of crashes, a lot of good mechanics are showcased in these special tracks. But yeah, this one is probably the least intense of them all, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Alright, let's move it to the NASCAR track, the roundabout. Now this is what I like to call the NASCAR track. It's literally just going left the entire track. You can pretty much drift the whole track if you do it right. But here, let me show you what it's all about. Because this is a little bit more intense than Figure 8, but not more intense than Crash Valley. So there's some good opportunities for some good hits here, and it is intense. The track is small, there's 8 laps, so yeah, gives a bunch of opportunities. It is really just a lot of going left, and you know, this right here on the screen, it's a lot of that. My favorite thing to do is just turn around and hit everyone head on. That's the best thing. Last but certainly not least, we got Crash Alley Run. This is an iconic track for any FlatOut player. You know this track, you know what it's about, and you know the mayhem that's about to unleash on this track. This track has found its way into almost every FlatOut game by Bugbear and even Wreckfest. This is an iconic track for anyone who's played these games. It is just pure intensity from start to finish, but like I said, in FlatOut 1, it is the least intense of them all, so yeah, but it is still pretty intense compared to, you know, the other tracks in the first FlatOut game. The track design for this track is so simple but so genius that I have to slap an A+ on that grade paper for you. This track is just amazing. It's literally just a one-way with roundabouts and bumps and ramps on the one-way. So like, you can see there's lanes, but realistically you don't have to adhere to those lanes, so it's just a chaotic fucking mess, and it's so awesome. This track brings back so many good memories. Now unfortunately, for some reason, PC never got multiplayer. GameSpy multiplayer just never released it for FlatOut, so this is why I had the PS2 version, because I played the PS2 version online, and let me tell you, these races were cranked up to 10 in the amount of fun I had. You can tell this game was just way better with an online environment, and that's even proven today with Wreckfest. That game is just massively fun online. So unfortunately, PC never got to experience FlatOut online for some reason. I don't know, that would have been a really good, you know, selling point, especially for the PC market. It did happen on PS2 and Xbox. Xbox didn't have the Demolition Derby for some reason, but yeah. Now to my knowledge, FlatOut 2 and FlatOut Ultimate Carnage, you can still find multiplayer matches through some means, but I don't know, I haven't tried it yet. I'll probably give it a shot when I get to those games retrospectives. Wreckfest, however, is still active both on PC and console with a dedicated fan base. I was playing some races earlier, very fun to this day. FlatOut came out at a time where the default keyboard configuration was still the arrow keys for gas and brake. So this game came out when the gaming industry was still trying to find a foothold in the overall media medium. So when this came out, it was more about a showcase of the technology rather than the game itself, I think. And we don't get that a lot nowadays. So FlatOut was a pure masterpiece in both its physics and damage modeling, but it lacked in some track variety. However, the cars are awesome. Cars did great. I think Bugbear knew they had something special, knew they needed to get a prototype out, knew they needed to get a full product out, and did. And once they did, it got the ball rolling for them. This was only the beginning for Bugbear. They would go on to make FlatOut 2, FlatOut Ultimate Carnage, and FlatOut Head On, before moving on to other projects and eventually Wreckfest. So yeah, the company has quite a history, and they deserve nothing but praise. The technology they came up with for racing games, it should be applauded. This stuff is gorgeous. The damage modeling, the physics, there's nothing like it in any racing game. And some companies would try to replicate what FlatOut did, and there's varying success rate to that. But FlatOut and Bugbear, they did it best. They knew their technology because they created it. So this has been episode 1 of the FlatOut retrospective. We covered the first game. We'll be covering FlatOut 2 next. If you guys enjoyed the video, please drop me a like and subscribe. This took a long ass time to make between working 2 jobs and doing this for fun and gaming Baldur's Gate. But I've had an amazing time making this video and this retrospective series as a whole. So there will be more to come besides FlatOut as well. So yeah, thanks guys, and I'll catch you next time.